Voice is Gone by Forever Nightlights 24/7, read by The Devil's Advocate 18. Beware, this podfic is extremely sad, and please proceed with caution. I hope you enjoy. Little listener, Present Mike screamed as he rushed forward to shove Midoriya out of the way. It was supposed to be a calm patrol. Nothing was supposed to happen. Jiro and Midoriya were both doing so well the past 2 weeks. Hisashi honestly was so happy to have them, until the bank exploded. 4 villains rushed out. He sent the kids to evacuate civilians while he and his sidekick handled the villains. It was going fine until the last villain, who had a bone quirk, shot his sharpened femur weapon straight at Midoriya, whose back was turned. Hisashi screamed, causing the kid to turn around just in time to watch the bone spear pierce through Hisashi's chest. As he shoved the kid out of the way and shields him with his own body. "Present Mike," the sidekick screamed as he handled the villain. Hisashi looked down at the spear in his chest before his eyes crawled up to meet the terrified Vidarian ones. Izuku was frozen. Present Mike, one of his teachers, one of his favorite heroes, someone who he trusted, now had a spear through his chest. "Sensei?" Izuku whispered. As the man wobbled, his hand was still firmly gripping Izuku's shoulder as he dragged his cloudy eyes up. "Kid?" Hisashi buckled as he vomited blood. "No!" Izuku fell with him until he yanked the man's directional speaker off, trying to help. Hisashi already knew this was it. He was dying. He knew damn well this was it. He tried to speak once again, but his voice was drowned out by the blood filling his lungs and throat. "Please," Izuku begged, trying his best to keep it together even as he watched his heroes die in front of him. Hisashi ignored the plead, reaching up with all of his remaining strength to yank off his chain. His gold chain snapped easily off. The gold wedding ring attached to it followed. Hisashi reached out and pressed the ring firmly into Izuku's hand. His vision clouded even more. "Proud, good kid, amazing hero." Hisashi slumped to the ground, feeling the kid guiding him with his still free hand so he didn't hit the pavement too hard. "Shota, love him. Please, I love..." Hisashi coughed up more blood, staining the gray cement with a sickly red. "Sensei, I'm so..." Hisashi brought up his hand to press it against Izuku's cheek. "Hero, for me, best hero. Oboro would have..." Another wet cough. "Loved you, Sho. Please tell love Sho." Hisashi's eyes dropped as his hand fell from the kid's face. No, please," Izuku begged and sobbed, completely ignoring the chaos around him and the blood covering him. "Happy, live for me, both of you." Those were the final words of the pro-hero Present Mike, Hisashi Yamada. Shota burst into the hospital room to find his #1 problem child staring blankly at the ceiling from the hospital bed. The kid experienced a severe case of shock during the attack, bad enough that he was admitted for his own safety. "Kid!" Shota rushed forward, thankful that his husband's blood was already washed off the kid. It had only been 4 hours since Hisashi's death, and Shota wasn't sure he could handle the kid being covered in blood. His brief 2-hour cry session wasn't nearly long enough for that. "Izuku?" he called, hoping to snap the boy out of his panic spiral better than the nurses had. All they could get out of the poor kid were sobbing apologies and numb explanations of the attack that stops the second Hisashi was hit. "Zawa?" Izuku whispered brokenly as he slowly turned to face the man. "Hey." Shota knew his eyes were bloodshot, but he hoped the rest of him showed how glad he was that the kid was reacting. I'm so sorry." The kid broke down, curling himself into a ball, and screamed incoherently. Shota pulled the teen into his arms, forcing him into a tight hug. Izuku's screams and cries were muffled by Shota's shirt, letting the man hear when his own sobs returned. The two cried together for hours, never letting the embrace go. Shota ran his hands through the curling mess of green locks, while Izuku held his fist tight against Shota's shirt. His other hand was firmly pressed against Izuku's chest the entire time. This is yours," Izuku whispered. When they finally calmed down enough to pull away from the embrace, Shota started crying again when Izuku opened his palm to reveal the bloody wedding ring and chain Hisashi had always cherished, just like how Shota cherished the one snugly hidden under his shirt. "You..." Izuku ducked his head when he recounted Hisashi's final words. Shota didn't know whether he was grateful or heartbroken that the kid had such an excellent memory. It took 2 days for Izuku to finally be released from the hospital. At his request, Izuku had been transferred to the teacher's dorms with Shota. The man was mourning the love of his life, while Izuku tried to get through the survivor's guilt that was eating him alive every waking moment. Nezu and many others agreed it would be best for the two to live together while on campus. Not that Izuku ever left campus anymore. He outright refused to step outside school grounds, claiming he never wanted to be the cause of anyone's death, and that he would go out only when he was strong enough hero to protect everyone. Shota was much the same. He rarely left his and Hisashi's shared bedroom, only doing so when he needed to care for Izuku or himself. Shota would never really admit it, but the only reason he hadn't given up entirely was because of the teen now living with him. The real start of the healing came 1 month after the incident. It was during the car ride home from Hisashi's funeral that Shota pulled over. Izuku was confused, but followed when his guardian motioned for him. Shota sat on the dock. A familiar bench explained to Izuku that the bench was formerly a trash beach that he and Hisashi would visit when they were young and when it was still clean. Izuku listened the entire time as Shota recounted that this was the exact spot Hisashi had proposed. "Here, kid. I think he would want you to have it." Shota handed Izuku Hisashi's gold chain, which had been thoroughly cleaned and reinforced. When the teen tried to refuse, saying Shota would need it for their wedding ring, Shota lifted his own silver chain out of his shirt, showing both rings snugly fit together. He then turned to face the ocean as he continued, "It's yours, kid. I know you may not believe me, but you were Hisashi's favorite student. I don't know for a fact, but I'm close to certain that the only reason he trusted you with his wedding ring was because it was you. I don't think he would have done it to any other student. Hell, even a sidekick. Hisashi was kind and loud, but he was smart enough not to place his trust where it wasn't earned. He adored you, and you deserve to have something to remember him by. You have no idea how grateful I am that you were with him during his final moments." And Shota paused to wipe his eyes. "An old friend of ours died at internships while we were still in UA. He died alone, crushed under a falling building." Izuku's eyes flooded with tears. I hated that you had to see him like that, and I wish you never had to. But I'm also relieved that Zashi had someone he cared about close with him when he died, close enough to hear his final words and be there with him." Izuku nodded slowly, looking out onto the horizon as he slipped the chain around his neck. A chill passed over them both, causing Izuku to lean into Shota's side when the man lifted his arm in offering. But they didn't know that the chill was really two ghosts watching over the duo with fond smiles and tear-filled eyes. This was Voice is Gone by Forever Nightlights 24/7, read by The Devil's Advocate 18. I hope you enjoyed. Until next time.